Back with us on the SportsMax Zone, we continue with cricket. We are less than a day away from the start of the third test of the four-match series between hosts India and England in Ahmedabad. Action in the day-night contest will be live on SportsMax from 4 Thursday morning in Jamaica, 5 a.m. in the Eastern Caribbean. The series is locked at 1-1 with a place in the final of the World Test Championship at Lords against New Zealand on the line. The India captain Virat Kohli, speaking ahead of the contest, says his side will have to adjust to the pink ball.
Challenging to play with the new ball, with the pink ball, regardless of what pitch you're playing on, and especially in the evening. If, say, you're as a batting team, you're starting your innings in the evening under lights, then that 1.5 hours is very challenging. Yes, spin will come into play for sure, but I don't think the new ball and the fast bowlers can be ignored. The pink ball does bring them into the game till the ball is nice and shiny, and something that we are very well aware of, and we're preparing accordingly. We're not looking to win one and draw one, we're looking to win both. For us, these are 2 games of cricket, and solely the only thing that we're focused on. What it does afterwards is a conversation for later. That's a reality that's not present right now. In the present moment, we are preparing for tomorrow, ready for the grind for 5 days, wanting to win a test match for India, and then move on to the next one.
Captain Kohli. Meanwhile, England captain Joe Root says his batsmen must be cautious at the start of their innings, given the tendency for batting collapses in day-night tests.
I think there's been a trend of the actual all of the pink ball test matches that there have been collapses on occasion. You look at the game that we played against the West Indies, and there was that collapse in the first innings. I think of their innings. It seems to be a trend, and it's something that as a batting group you need to make sure that you stop. And I suppose one thing that stands out to me is that it's the vital first 20 balls, making sure you get used to the tracking the ball, get used to the conditions, and being very aware of how things can change throughout the day. It's not necessarily just been that one moment under lights or that twilight period that's had that effect. It's sometimes been right at the start of the game, in the morning session, late on in day 4, that these strange sort of passages of play have happened. So I suppose it's when you get that opportunity and you're on the right side of it, you're in the field, a ball in hand, you really get on a roll with it. You take every opportunity and chance, and you make that really count in your favour. Similarly, with a bat in hand, you just got to really make sure that those 20 balls you're fighting with everything you've got to get yourself in, get accustomed to the wicket, the conditions, and make sure that you build that partnership, which is so vital.
Yeah, so joining us now to preview that third test, which begins Wednesday morning, 4 a.m. in Jamaica, 5 a.m. outside, is the international man of cricket, Fazeer Mohammed. Fazeer, welcome to the SportsMax Zone once again.
Always good to be on the show.
All right, let me put it this way then. You have a strong team at home, India, a strong team on tour, England. Which India are we likely to see in this third test? The one that folded in the first test, didn't know what it was doing, but ran away with the second test? Which England are we likely to see? The one that dominated test 1, or the one that was a meek surrender in test 2?
It could be either. It's unpredictable, especially with the fact that we're talking about day-night cricket with the pink ball, with the twilight, with players coming back, players coming out, and it's another dimension to Test cricket where you now have this rotation policy by some nations like England, which I actually think devalues Test cricket as a spectacle, but that's, I'm sure, a discussion for another time. But I think you couldn't want it any better. 1-1, 2 teams, as Virat Kohli would have mentioned, they're not thinking about ICC Test Championship, but they have that at the back of their minds already. They want to be playing New Zealand in June in that World Test Championship final at Lords to really concretize their status as the #1 test playing nation in the world. They're in a duel now with Australia and England. So there's really everything to play for. If you could be 2-1 up with 1 test match to play, you're in a very strong position.
There was a spell from Jimmy Anderson in that first test that really ripped the innards out of India as they sought to save the game, or to chase down the total nominal as it was. He returns for England in this third test. We know how deadly he is with the pink ball. And then Jofra Archer, whose elbow didn't allow him to be selected for the second test, is also back. Do the addition of those 2 tilt the balance in the Englishmen's favour?
Not necessarily. It really depends on how India respond to the challenge as well. Because remember, you've got Ishant Sharma playing his 100th Test match, and indeed the Indian fast bowling attack with Jasprit Bumrah back in the team as well. The possibility that Umesh Yadav will get the opportunity ahead of Kuldeep Yadav, the left-arm spinner, who just doesn't seem to be a favorite of Virat Kohli at the moment. So yes, you can't discount the impact of a Jimmy Anderson, because we all saw that in what proved to be the final day of that first Test match with that critical striker. And of course, it's being talked about as one of the greatest overs ever. And you get that because this is the environment for that. Two top nations, tremendous media attention, global media, social media, and so on. But I think it's all about putting that behind you and focusing on the cricket itself, because we saw how India rebounded in that second Test match. England have tried to take consolation with the complaints about the pitch and so on, but India responded with their big players from Rohit Sharma on day one. And at the end of the day, it's usually those significant contributions with others playing their roles, which could be significant. So yes, it's important for England to have Jimmy Anderson back in their team with the ping ball. He could be lethal, but once again, it could be a brilliant counterattack by Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli or anyone else for that matter.
Definitely, Faz. Well, given the pink ball situation, and of course, dew will be a factor to consider, do you see India going with 3 seamers, 2 spinners?
It's going to be interesting because a lot will depend on the conditions on the day. We're more than half, less than half a world away, but that's some distance anyway. And really, because they're going to be starting 2:30 in the afternoon, India time, they're going to have to factor in that issue about underlight. Will there be dew? Will there be moisture? Will it make it difficult for the spinners, especially the wrist spinners, to hold on to the ball and feel comfortable? So they'll be more familiar with the conditions. And at the moment, I would think they might be leaning towards an additional seamer, but it wouldn't be the first time that I would be wrong.
With Johnny Bairstow's availability, does this reduce any sort of pressure on Joe Root?
I don't think Joe Root is under any pressure at all, because you look at the way that he's batted when they were in Sri Lanka, and now that he's here with the England team, leading the England team. I think a lot of the pressure is created again by what is said around him. I don't get the impression that Joe Root is too bothered by all of that, and I think that's the right way to approach it, whether you're a Virat Kohli, whether you're a Joe Root, whether you're a Tim Payne of Australia, whether you're a Craig Brathwaite or maybe a Jason Holder of the West Indies as well. You've got to shut out, you've got to lock off from all of those extraneous issues and focus on your cricket. Focus on your teammates, your 10 teammates, focus on the opposition. And indeed, his form is so outstanding. Okay, there were collapses in the second Test match, but that hardly means that Joe Root suddenly becomes a mediocre batsman, and you would expect him as a quality player to respond to the challenge.
Excellent. Fazeer, thank you very much, and say hi to the figure walking in the background behind you. Thank you very much. All the best.
I'll do that.
Good. So, as we go to the break, team, what is true, the reason India were favourites going into the Test match, and a favouritism bolstered by their performance in Australia, to be fair, India have more match winners than England. That's a fact. It's whether or not India's match winners can perform, whether England can blunt the impact of those Indian match winners. That would be the key to the result.
Definitely, and of course, India, their top 6 batsmen have all once at least scored 50-plus scores. So I think they're going to want to convert those to centuries. And of course, don't forget, Jasprit Bumrah is back. So that's a plus for them as well.
Yeah, George made a good point. Match winners galore in the India lineup, and because of that, I think they're the best team in the world at the moment. But how brilliant the top Test teams in the world are at the moment, between India, New Zealand, England, and Australia to a lesser extent. Really top quality teams that on any given day they can beat each other. We go to break, back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.